Live.
Bop, 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 bop.
Blap, brap, bap, bap, brap, bap, bap, brap.
Oh, you got me.
So we're here and we're schmoozing. Welcome to the show. It is March 4th,
Dude, what?
2021. Almost a year into the
Can you believe it?
COVID-19 pandemic. A year ago, I was in Miami.
A year ago, we were in LA when this, well.
No, we were in LA
Miami?
a little before.
that
But a
was
year
before.
ago, I was in Miami, and yeah, just freaking out. You know, we had rented a house, the condo for a month with my family, and hanging out with you a little bit, and just like slowly watching all of our gigs get canceled. And like at that time, remember, it was like hand sanitizer was the solution, and we didn't know it was airborne. So like it's hand sanitizer sold out everywhere, and like, can you even touch anything? And we were just like, when should we go home? Are we gonna get stuck in Miami? Like, so then we flew home, and I haven't been on an airplane for almost a year.
Yup.
I never. If you had told me that a year ago or like a year and a half ago, I would have been like, "You're crazy." Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So here we are, Schmoozing with Soul Clap. Welcome to all the people tuning in. I think it's still popping off on Twitch. Still getting there. It's always weird, like when it comes in with the notifications. I never know. Never know when we're actually.
Speaking about like who knew we would be what? We're now like 43 episodes.
We would be what?
42.
42 episodes. It's episode 42.
Woo. Who knew? Who knew schmoozing? Who knew we'd be schmoozing this much?
We're almost a year into schmoozing. Almost a year into schmoozing. But yeah, so here we are. We're schmoozing. Waiting to, like I said, I never know. Like we're just waiting to hit the algorithm. So, or like for a notification to go out to viewers. There it is. The notification just popped up. There it is. So let's see if people. Okay, people are coming in. What's up? What's up, everybody? So today on Schmoozing, we have a very special episode for you. As always, it's always a special episode here on Schmoozing. We've got none other than T.Williams, aka Dreddy, London Garage, Don Dada. He's been a friend for a long time. We actually were on his radio show back in 2012 when we released our album and realized that we had all these connections from past lives. And it was
incredible. Really this is a great story. And I'm so glad that we are telling it, that you guys are getting to kind of get into the nitty gritty of it on Schmoozing, because this is like one of these stories. It's like, how did these two tiny circles cross and become concentric? It's a weird one, folks. Must be cool folks, cool peeps with good taste. It's the only way to describe it.
Funny, man. It happens. I have another funny story about weird serendipity, but I'm going to save it because we got so much to talk about today. We also
tell that story also because you were at Burning Man, Eli, and you weren't in your best judgment.
No, we have Monroy Yglesias, who is the writer for Grammy.com, one of the journalists at Grammy.com, also writes for Attack Mag and wrote a great piece about COVID raving. And you know, when we asked her to come on, it still felt kind of like we were in the throes of despair. Are we ever going to be able to rave again? But, you know, starting to feel a little optimistic. So it's going to be an optimistic conversation, I think, hopefully. But also a reminder to not let our guard down and be irresponsible and let and slow this whole process down ultimately, right? So yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a great show today, but in the meantime, why don't we run that intro?
Run in.
This is something special for you.
Schmoozing.
So that's it.
Lonely Sea, Bamboozle.
Schmoozing.
Cocorico. Talk amongst yourselves.
Schmoozing.
So
Are you ready?
The show's about to start.
Yes, yes. We schmoozing. We schmoozing.
Oh yeah. Can we talk about these three in the background, Eli?
Let's wait for Tesfa to come in.
They are giving me the evil eye.
This
And I assume all of you too.
Yep. Creepy. Who are they? Before we do, let's bring Anna now, and we'll have our intro talk.
Let's do it.
Hey, Anna.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Wow.
I think we covered up those women's faces, so we're safe now. We're safe from the evil eye.
me out, man. They're blurring me out too. What's going on with my camera?
There's gonna be three of us most of the show, so we'll have their faces covered because I'm gonna take myself out though. You guys are gonna get
There they are. Who are these?
Oh man,
dude, tricks. I like it.
So yeah, Anna, welcome to Schmoozing. How you doing?
I'm good. I feel honored to be here. I've never actually seen y'all's intro before.
Oh.
That was pretty cool. I was like, wow. I want a video intro to like everything I do now. Like
we can arrange that. What would you want a video intro for? Like what kind of activity?
I think every Zoom that I enter.
Okay.
That's actually
even if you enter late, like it just stops and then you have this.
I love that.
We got to bring some fun back to the Zoom. Like I
read an article in the Times Magazine about there's a number of startups or businesses that have got new rounds of funding doing kind of more in-depth creative virtual meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So like, trying to bring more of the actual real connection of being with people in person at a conference or at an office or at a gathering to virtual meetings. I don't know.
That's kind of cool. Like snacks.
Snacks.
Like a snack you could pass through the screen. That could be something. I can't think of a song that says Zoom that's got Zoom in it. The word Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah.
It's got to be a reggae song.
Zoom, and there's that one song.
All I want to do is zoom.
Oh, yeah. Snap! Rump Shaker is your intro.
There's also
Zoom meeting.
There's also Yellowman.
And Monroy Yglesias. Yo, what?
There's also Yellowman. Zunga Zay.
Yo, that's Zunga though. Is that Zoom?
Zumba. Just do it. We'll get him. We can probably get him to do a
Zunga Zang.
Let's get him to do a dub play.
Like
Zoom.
All right, cool. So this is cool. Anna, you got to come up with like probably, I don't know, $450. That's probably like get you a dub plate with Yellowman on it.
It's dope.
I'm throwing that number out there. I don't know why. It's a guess.
Says, what up?
It's a guess.
Christina.
Okay, so I know, it's great to connect again. We met you the first time talking about Rave the Vote.
That's it.
When you interviewed us for Grammy.com. Thank you.
Real stuff. We talked about a lot of real stuff.
Yeah.
How to save democracy, which I think we made some progress on. We
still
got to do it though.
We definitely prolonged its death, at least.
There you go.
We'll see.
Oh my God. That is so depressing.
I was reminded over the weekend that it's like, we can't be lazy now. We can't let our guard down because there's still so much. Uh-oh, are they coming for you?
Who? The police?
I thought she was looking out the window. I thought like the anti-democracy people were about to bust in your place.
No, I have an Angela Davis quote on the top of my computer that I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to drop this quote.
Drop it.
Okay. This is from Angela Davis, y'all. This is how the world changes. It always changes as a result of the pressure that masses of people, ordinary people, exert on the existing state of affairs. We can't just sit down and be like, oh yeah, we're good now. There's always room to push things forward, I think.
That's how we have to look. I mean, and yeah, we have to just keep working. It's like every day, got to do one thing every day. That's how I've heard it said as well.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, we just got to keep that in our heads, even though it feels like we had one pretty significant victory, which is great, but that doesn't mean we're done fighting. There's Angela Davis.
There she is.
Ah,
Angela Davis, really a legend and inspiration and amazing author. So if you don't know, Google that.
read all the books. Recommend all of them.
Do you have a favorite one for novices out there?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read all of them. Some of them are still on my bookshelf and in my wish list. But I recently read one that she published, I think in 2015 or 16. No, it was in the context of while Obama was still president, and I forget exactly the title, but it has something to do something with Palestine in the title. But she's connecting the dots between the Black Lives Matter movement and different movements in the U.S. versus the fight for freedom in Palestine. And it was like a couple different essays and like talks that she gave between like, I think 2013 to 2016. And, I mean, her work is just always relevant. So I love the way she brings things in.
She's so prolific. I mean, she's just like, look, when I Google her books, it's like, just in the last couple decades, are prisons obsolete? Freedom is a constant struggle. Women, culture, politics. Women, race, and class. Abolition, democracy. Blues, legacies, and Black feminism. The meaning of freedom. The prison industrial complex. Abolition, feminism, now.
So you're saying, Eli, that Angela Davis writes books the way DJ Dreddy drops dub plates. Prolific.
So yeah, I mean, we could schmooze forever, Anna, but we do have T.Williams waiting in the green room.
Yeah.
Chat about some other things. And I wanted to get into this article that you wrote for Attack Mag. I'm going to bring it up. It's called "So You're Thinking About Attending a Playgrave." Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh gosh, here we go.
Came out a couple weeks ago.
Spoiler alert is don't attend the Playgrave. But so a little bit of context, like I'm not the person who coined the term or anything like that. I love the photo that they did. It's so good.
They're like, we're at the Playgrave. We've decided it's a bad idea, but we all dressed in Burberry.
Yeah, she's like, you knew it was a bad call. She clutches her water bottle. She's like, you knew it. But yeah, so they have been Harold Heath, who was my editor on this piece. He's written a few articles for Attack about Playgraves. I think the first one was back in like June or something, like early summer last year. And basically he wanted someone else to write an article because he was like, I have nothing else I could say. I'm just mad that people are still doing this. But, so I wrote this in like February last month. So it's in the context of like kind of what the hell happened last year and why are we still doing this? And, it's one of those things where I think for me, like obviously I have anger around this. Like I've tried my best to keep myself and my community, that I interact with or try not to interact with for the last year here in LA safe. And, I think we have all gone through phases of like, for LA, like a lot of people don't wear masks. That's how it is. It's kind of scary. It's kind of frustrating. We've had really bad numbers here. And, I think we all have moments where we're like, goddamn people that don't wear masks, but it's complex. Like a lot of people have done a lot of things wrong. A lot of people have tried to do the best they can. A lot of people don't have the option to work from home. There's so many layers. But so when I was tasked with this article, I was kind of like, where do I even start? What do we look at and why is this still happening? And for me, the thing that I think really stood out to me and that got some coverage back when it happened, is like Tulum and just how, I remember hearing I'm not going to name names, but I remember hearing in a conversation I had with an artist, and they were talking about doing stuff in Tulum, and I was kind of like, ugh. And I remember seeing like some Twitches happening, some streams happening from Tulum, and this is in like, you know, September, November. Like numbers are bad, and the numbers in the U.S. are really good. That's the thing. It's like this is a crazy thing where like not only are we trying to protect ourselves from this thing that is scary, this illness, but we're also trying to protect other people. And like one thing I like have tried to wrap my head around in all this and have really struggled to is like that our bodies are like hazardous. Like we are a hazard being near other people. Like, of course, you know, you can get tested, you can quarantine. There are ways that you can make spending time with someone else safe. Like I was able, luckily, to visit my family for Thanksgiving after like strictly quarantine for 2 weeks, and you know I was close enough to drive up. But like there's just all these risk factors that haven't existed before, that we haven't had to think about, like our, you know, the risk that our body, that our presence, that our breath brings into sharing a space with someone else. So, you know, basically, to not get too deep into the philosophy, all these like, but that's what I've been thinking about. But so it's like, why is this happening in Tulum? And like, I think it's impossible. Like, I think we have to look at privilege. I think we have to look at who are going to these events, how they're getting there, the precautions they are and aren't taking. And, you know, I think the business techno, their like Twitter and Instagram, they've been, it always makes me really sad every time I look at that Twitter feed, because you're bound to find someone that you like, someone whose music you love, someone who you've gone to a ton of their shows in the past, like up on there. And, you know, I think when I was writing this article, it was important to me not to point like fingers, like not to call out specific people, not to make it a finger pointing thing. Like I think business techno is doing a great job of sort of cataloging it and just being like, this is what's happening. People are getting mad at them, but I was like, okay, this, like, I just want to ask, like, why are we doing this and why is this still happening? And there was to get to my point, the Art With Me event that happened in Tulum in November. It was a 6-day event held across, I think, like 20 different hotels and venues in Tulum. And I think, you know, and events were already happening in Tulum. I think they were closed for maybe a month or two, and then they opened things back up. And so this event was not like the only thing that had happened in Tulum. There had been lots of smaller events happening, but this gathered a lot of people who, you know, primarily were coming from New York, Miami, and some other places, but people with money, you know, to afford the flight and the hotels. And when you watch the videos, no one is wearing a mask. A bunch of big name DJs played. It like, and there were a bunch of outbreaks, both people that were hospitalized in Tulum and then people
that
went to the doctor
in Tulum. Bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when we're talking about like the resources that are in Mexico, like they've been really strained in their hospitals and medical system, like we were in the U.S., but even more so. And the government there has not been putting money into testing, has not been putting money into more hospital beds, the president has actually taken money away from medical investment. So, you know, that was what I kind of wanted to just point out, is that you have to think about like what you're doing. And even when this is over, I think it's important that when we travel, especially if you are a white person, if you are a person with any level of privilege, like you need to think about what happens when you put your body, when you bring yourself into a space. Like, are you having respect for the people that live there? Like, are you posing a risk to anyone? And that, it just makes me sad that that's not how people have been looking at things. And, you know, I wanted to, without being as preachy or as like you're doing the wrong thing as possible, just be like, we need to like really take a step back and try to do better, because a lot of this has just not, people have not, and people have been irresponsible.
2 questions, or 1 comment and then 1 question, but I want you to, if you could answer to respond to both, so I'll space them out. One is, This is just popping in my head. Cancel culture is so prevalent right now. Why doesn't that apply to Playgraves?
So, I mean, I think it's interesting because it does feel like, and I think I said this in the article, it feels like the response from the music community hasn't really been strong enough. Like, people aren't being like, this needs to stop. The business techno page, like, people are getting mad at the business techno page for like posting about them playing a rave, and it's like, but yeah, it doesn't seem like beyond like Bicep, beyond Carl Cox, beyond a couple of bigger DJs sort of like, saying to their peers like, we need to stop doing this. It doesn't seem like much is happening. And I guess you can argue too that I don't think cancel culture really works. Like, I think having dialogues about how we can do better works, but I think the sort of Twitter, the thing that only Twitter can really create, which is like, this person's canceled, this person did this and they're canceled. It doesn't allow space for a conversation, but I do wish there was a bigger conversation happening around all this.
And then my question was, sorry, E, just how is this going to change, or will it change with these vaccinations?
So that's interesting. And it's something like, I don't really know, but I think we've seen over the past like week or two, like there's things like, I think it was Ibiza is going to do like the vaccine passport thing. And I think some other sort of hotspot, like music and tourist destination hotspots are like looking into that. And I mean, I know New York has said that they're going to like be opening, like everywhere's kind of talking about opening stuff up, but I have no idea what that means. But I think the positive thing is like, things are changing now. Like, we didn't have a vaccine last year. Now we have a vaccine and people are starting to get it. And I think the important thing is like, I think throughout all of this, people have heard a lot of people have heard what they wanted to hear and sort of made things, like having a birthday party, but only with 20 people inside, or, maybe going to Tulum, but only going to the smaller events or the outdoor events. But like, as we see, like, these are like, all it takes is one person to infect those 20 people or whatever. So yep. I think now it's like, we just kind of need to like, I know I've started to feel a little bit of optimism of like, I don't know, maybe there will be outdoor stuff at the end of this year or like in the summer. Like, I have no idea, but I think kind of like reminding ourselves that like, things will happen at some point, not that far away, but like, if we keep trying to fast forward, it could have grave consequences. And like, I'm not a medical health expert, but I was just listening to the New York Times podcast this morning, and they were sort of talking about the different variants, and like what that means for the vaccine. Because the thing is, we don't really know the full extent of how the vaccine is going to work because we're still getting it into people's bodies. And, again, the good news is that we have the Johnson & Johnson now. This one is only one shot, so it's literally going to be faster at getting people. It was also developed later, so they think that it has a little more efficacy against some of the variants because some of those variants already existed at the time they were creating and doing the trials for J&J. But the one thing that really stood out to me in this podcast was that they're saying that like, what's really important now is that we keep masking, we keep social distancing, like we sort of keep in the same pattern as more and more people get vaccines. So then we can, because if we don't, we could cause the variant to keep replicating and to keep going between more bodies. And that's the last thing we want, because some of these variants, like I think the UK one is the one that's more deadly and more contagious. There's the South African one, and then they are also talking about one that developed in the Amazon, and that one is really bad and wreaking havoc in Brazil right now. And, like we don't know if the vaccine fully protects us from those. And I think the important part is like we don't know, so I got vaccinated like a week ago. I think by the end of the month, I'll be like vaccinated up after I get my second shot, which is crazy. I had no idea. Like that gave me a lot of hope, and more young people too are going to be getting it soon, which is dope. But like, I'm kind of like, I don't know what I can do yet. Like maybe I can finally get my hair cut like next month, but I'm not ready to hop on a plane, because I think to me, the most important thing is like, I don't want to be a hazard. Like I said, like I don't want to unknowingly pass a variant or anything else. And like the more we gather in closed spaces, like the more risk factors there are. So like hopefully, yeah, outdoor events and like distance things. But for now, we got to keep wearing our masks. We got to like get the vaccine to more people, and like not, because I think if we learned anything from last year, it's wanting to fast forward or wanting to pretend like it doesn't exist makes things worse. And we don't need, like, the numbers are less bad than they were in December, but the numbers are still about as high as they are in the US as they were in the summer. So we're not there yet. We're not in the clear yet. And just stop playing DJs, stop playing in-person parties, because people are going to go to them and just, hold on a second.
I mean, like in some ways, I do want to play devil's advocate, because I do see both sides here. Like, yeah. I do think like partying locally in your scene is a very different thing. And I think like younger people, it's not fair to ask them to not socialize if they're willing to put themselves at risk, and they're being at least conscious and acknowledging that could then put other people at risk. And like, other than going to a party, are not, doing that. Like, I'm not sure anybody's actually doing that, but like, just saying, like, to be fair, right? You can be going to events, because it's happening in Miami all the time. Look, I don't know if people are going to events and then getting people sick. I don't know exactly what's happening, but if you're not getting on a plane after and you're just going home, I'm not like as upset about it, right? The problem is DJs perpetuating this behavior, being like, I'm going to fly here and play. And so everybody else who's in the dance music scene feels like that's okay, right? Like, I just, I've been super cautious. I think we all have here. And like, I just feel like people have different priorities and different levels of risk they're willing to take. And like, there's a point I draw the line and I say that's irresponsible, like getting on an airplane and going to a party. But like, I do think like local scenes is a great opportunity to focus on local scenes and like be responsible and like take care of your people where you are, but still, maybe try doing these parties. And if people get sick, that was your decision, but you're not putting other people at risk on the same level as getting on an airplane. Right. So, and I do think like as the vaccine comes out, it's like my feelings, yeah, sure, it'll still be risky. And you know what? I'm not taking any gigs until like at least June, or we can start doing outdoor stuff. Really. That's like where my head's at. Just giving it time to see what happens, I think, is really important. But I understand people are super, they're antsy. It's been a year, and like, so it's tough. It's tough to find this middle ground. But I do think what it's demonstrated is just like this lack of, just like, these people don't care about music. This kind of side of the dance music scene, it's like a different thing. They're not going out. They love music. They're not going to fight a Tulum because you love music.
I don't know if they're digging the crates, but they definitely, music drives them. I
wouldn't say drive them. Maybe they like music. Maybe that's not fair, but like, they're being driven by other things first before the music.
Probably they're driven by
hedonism and just like, trying to just like, and privilege and just doing whatever I want because I want to have fun, feels like the main driver of that kind of behavior. And so I think that's kind of like really brought to the surface. And we've talked about this a lot on the show, like dance music can be like a place, a driver of positive change and positive cultural growth and influence. And there's a lot of folks who want it to be that, or who are doing the work so it can be that. And, I think like bigger DJs going and playing these parties makes everybody look bad, one. But, it's like, maybe it's just, I keep feeling like there's just going to be two scenes. Like that commercial thing can happen, last as long as it's going to last, and burn out. And then the next thing will come along after Tech House, and it's over, right? And then, but the underground is always going to be here, and like
But
that's
underground is not necessarily safe or taking precaution. You know, the underground's just as guilty of violating. I mean, maybe they're not bottle service in Tulum, but you know, there's just as much going on in the underground with young people, maskless, sharing joints, sharing drinks, sharing bumps, hugging each other, fucking. Well, can I say that on the show? Screwing each other. And you know, passing whatever that way. Like when I see people down here acting a fool, they're fully acting a fool. No mask, not even trying to do.
I mean, I
mask.
guess once you're drinking, once you're doing other things, it's
passing
like
tons of passing joints.
Yeah,
and you know, it's like I don't know. That's why I would just urge anybody that's DJing, if you are going to take a gig, just wear your mask. And if someone tries to give you a joint or pass you a drink or offer you something, you know, just lead by example. If maybe the DJ, they're going to look at that and have some influence. But if you're also just like willy nilly out there, then you know. But I don't think, like, I'm with you, E, because I definitely think like the business driven thing of like bottle service culture and that whole privilege, that's bad. But you know, the underground needs to step it up too and create some sort of boundary that's safe, so people aren't getting sick. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's so many layers, right? There's no right answers here, just with a lot of things. But I mean, what right answer is if you're a fucking, like, I agree with Bicep here, man. Like, established DJs playing raves during pandemic is disgusting. Getting on an airplane and playing a party. I mean, dude, we got to do better. We got to do better as the leaders of this culture, and we got to set these positive examples. And you know, hopefully we can all do this safely and positively soon. And I feel like there's, you know, I'm feeling positive finally. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like the vaccines are rolling out, and sure, we're not through it yet, and there's a lot of room for fucking up again, or for these variants.
I believe you mean screwing up.
Yeah, we can curse on here, bro.
Oh shit!
And these variants, you know, getting bad, but you know, let's cross our finger, let's hope, and let's just do our part to try to get through this.
For sure, I fucking agree with you.
Any final words, Anna?
I just want to bring in this other article that I actually found the other day when I was like Googling business techno and seeing other people, but it was in Dweller Forever, dwellerforever.blog, and it was from August, but it's called Business Techno Matters: Why Those who have the most to sacrifice. Okay, well, sorry, I can't read right now.
I remember this.
Yeah, how those who have the most sacrifice the least. And that's a really great article. Definitely want to point people there, but it definitely calls in, you know, exactly what we've been talking about, and how it really is unfair and not okay that, you know, a lot of these big and very well-paid DJs that we're seeing play events in other countries, in countries of people primarily of color, are white and rich, and that this is a form created by people of color. And with COVID, you know, it has most dramatically affected communities of color. And they also talk about, you know, in the article too, are some people like, why are you making this a race thing? And it's like, you know, I think it's just important to always take a step back and see what we're doing. And, you know, everyone messes up once in a while. Like everyone, you know, does something that's like, oh, that maybe we shouldn't have played that thing or gone to that party or whatever, had that fourth drink. But, you know, I think, I hope that we're at a point where we have these kind of conversations more going forward, and that people are held accountable, because I do think that DJs play a huge part in dance music culture. Like, of course, it's the ravers too, but at the end of the day, like, the DJ set the tone. And I think, you know, if DJs are flying and going to events, people want to go. Like, of course you want to see your favorite DJ, and if they're doing it, it must be safe-ish. And I think I would like to see going forward, you know, like you guys do, like taking DJs taking more of a stand on issues and also practicing what they preach. And if you say Black Lives Matter, then, you know, you don't go play a show in Tanzania to all white people during a pandemic, in a country that has been saying COVID is a hoax. You know, like people need to be held accountable in that sort of way. And I think it's not about calling people out. It's about bringing people forward. And, you know, that's the only way we can do it.
Your example there is next level hypocrisy. That is such extreme. I really hope that is just a hypothetical and not an actual. Oh, come on. Come on.
You can go to the Twitter of Business Techno. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh my God. Put him on blast, Anna. Who was it? I'm going on. The Twitter. I'm going there. It's the Twitter. I'm going there right now.
Was it Ricardo Villalobos?
I don't know if he played the event, but I know that was the event that I think it was someone that played it before.
Oh man!
But yeah, they were asking Circo Loco and Ricardo Villalobos to not do an event in Tanzania because of all of this. And I think there were some events that had already been happening.
Dude. Wait, is it Business Techno or Business Techno?
Techno.
Oh, it's Tesh Club vibes. Look at
Tanzania,
dude.
It's a good depiction of a playground in Tanzania. Notice how? Okay, let me bring this up.
Oh my gosh!
All right, we gotta keep moving. I'm not even. I'm. Look.
Oh,
it's fucked up.
It's a kick in the nuts, is what it is.
And I think, you know, we've talked about this on our show a lot. A lot of it is acknowledging our privilege, and you know, a lot of artists respond to these kind of like this article on dweller.com is by Frankie, one of the founders of Discwoman, who writes a lot of amazing stuff and brings all this stuff up on Twitter and really, you know, puts this like bleaching of dance music at the heart of her narrative. And I think it's so,
dude, this is bad.
So true. Like this is, you know, this is like a music originally by and for marginalized people that's been completely commodified and continues, you know? And so these conversations about house and techno being Black and what that means and how we can move forward together is all really important. And it is all intertwined in this idea of privilege. And until people can acknowledge their privilege, then they're not going to listen to this shit, because they're just going to say, oh, why you got to bring race into it? Because race is in everything. It's the reality of the world we live in. And if you can't acknowledge your privilege, then you're not going to be able to move forward.
Dude, this is so bad.
All right,
God. I'm depressed. That's it.
Thanks so much. You should stay off that Business Techno Twitter because it's.
I don't even have Twitter. That's why I'm off the Twitter.
Yeah, this is why you don't go off Twitter.
Yeah, that's Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining. This here's something. DJ Sprinkles has an amazing song about the appropriation embedded in Madonna's Vogue. Interesting. Pandemic allowed people to see who the person behind the DJ's persona. Hope we all remember who did the right thing and who didn't.
That's right, Dada Ganesh. Darn skippy.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Anna. Hopefully we can talk again about some more positive stuff.
Yeah.
I look forward to continuing to see what you're writing about.
And I hope we can dance together. We will, you know, it will happen. And I'm holding on to that thought to keep me warm as I dance with my cat.
Yes. At least you have somebody to dance with. Imagine living by yourself.
Yo, and you better, when you come back on the show, you better have a theme song. You better have Rump Shaker ready.
I'll work on it. Thanks, guys.
I'll do it for you. Fuck, dude. How much is enough? How much do you need? How much cash you need? How much, what is it? Like, what?
Yeah, it's bad.
Like, just, I don't know. Just reruns just for a little while, a couple weeks.
Bicep put it best in that interview with Mixmag, where they're like, take a fucking year off, write an album. It's like
Write
really
an album,
they said
dude.
it's like
Go
it's showing the difference between creative artists and people who are just
learn
looking for the money,
something
right?
new. You got an opportunity, especially if you're like top of the food chain. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Just write an album.
I mean, the only thing that I could think is that you just like lifestyle just became so expensive that the minute that you stop feeding the monkey, then you know, then you're out on the street or something. But like, come on, man. Like, oh
All right.
my
Well, you
God.
know, it's also intertwined. You know, the ideas of race and privilege and all this stuff. And you know what? What's great is we got our man T.Williams.
I'm upset, T.Williams. I am upset.
We've actually had a lot of these
Hey,
conversations.
I am
offline.
too. Yeah, we've been having this conversation, man. That's like it's crazy to me. But I do. So there is a side that I kind of like did understand. Like you said, there is one side of it. It could be the monetary side, like the financial lifestyle side, that, you know, living beyond your means, and you
For
need
sure.
to keep going. That could be one side. But there was another side that kind of like hit me during this time a little bit, in terms of, it's just that kind of like, when you've been doing something for so long and you haven't really connected with your friends and family and all the rest of it, and then to go back into a world where you're not even connected to it anymore, and then not have your old world anymore either at the same time, you could easily be swayed back into that other side, because that's what you know. That's the common thing. That's the thing you've been doing for 20 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, but dude,
Yeah.
if you've been flying private and eating like Michelin star and 5-star hoteling, boo fucking who, bro?
This is true.
Like,
This is true.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry
very
that
true.
you like forgot to call your cousin for 20 years and now they don't want nothing to do with you.
I
Like,
think you have to, like, there's an ego piece of this too. There's an ego piece, right? Because we know
ego is the most expensive
being
thing.
being the center
You
of
nailed
attention,
it.
right?
That's
Being
exactly
the center
what
of
it is.
attention is really important. Like, this is something that we're used to.
We're
We're used to it. So, like, if this is all you have, and you're like, "Oh my god, no one's paying attention to me anymore," you know, my friend, Thug Fucker was staying with me for a while, and you know, he kept being like talking about live streaming, like, you know, this is what happens when DJs are so bored and no one's paying attention to them. They just do anything on the internet.
Yep.
They even start talk shows.
Exactly.
Yes. Anything to keep the ball rolling. Yeah. It's a mad one, but like, yeah, like no excuses for any of it, to be honest with you, regardless of what the situation. Just no excuses for any of
yo,
it.
I gotta say, like, I don't think there's gonna be any accountability for it either when this thing like comes around. These dudes are still gonna be like top billing.
This is true, and this was a problem. Like I always talk about, this has been a problem in the scene. This is the problem. Like, people not calling out people for what they've done, people not being held accountable for what they've done during the time being in the scene, has always been a problem. Like, and this situation is kind of like exactly the same. They're not going to be held accountable. They're going to be back on the top of the food chain. They're going to be flying around in private jets and doing what they're doing at the same time, and it's just going to be the same thing again, which is unfortunate. Because I do wish that, you wish there was some kind of soul out there which was like, okay, you know what, you messed up. You messed up now. You did what you had to do during the pandemic. You messed up. Maybe you're going to have to,
right?
Yeah, put them in a timeout. Put them in a timeout. You got a year off now. You messed up.
No one's gonna book your ass. I mean, look how fast it happened. Like, remember that whole controversy with Four Walls coming out as super homophobic?
No.
Yeah.
And then, like, within a year, Circle Loco booked Four Walls.
Exactly. But doesn't that show the roles again?
It was the following summer, and like, a bunch of us had to go on Twitter and fucking call them out.
Yeah, happened.
Because it didn't. That doesn't go away. You feel
that's what I'm saying. Like, what's up with the cancel culture? How come it's not come around on this? Because this is immoral and dangerous to people and harmful to people. Like, something like that happened. Shouldn't even get into politics of back then with our homie Tanner Ross and what happened to him. But like, that situation cost him his career. Like, that situation, he was acted inappropriately, but it was a misconstrued situation. I'm just saying, like, he got hard canceled.
People get canceled for saying the wrong thing, but they don't get canceled for doing the wrong thing. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this is like, oh man, what, dude?
It's crazy.
Like I was saying, it's like, this is the heart of all these issues, is this issue of like privilege and just getting away with whatever, if this is how you lived your life forever, and everybody's putting you up on a pedestal, or like, or you've just been used to doing whatever you want as a white person, and then as a famous white person, like,
yeah, you're gonna the world's your oyster. Yeah, who's telling you?
It's rough. I mean, we've got look. Like I keep saying, we can talk about this forever.
Let's talk about garage, bro.
We skip the Bandcamp song of the week because we talked so long. We got to skip Bandcamp song of the week. However, I will say that this Friday, tomorrow, is Bandcamp Friday, the second Bandcamp Friday of 2021, and Bandcamp waives all their fees, and all the money goes to the artists and labels. So go buy music on Bandcamp tomorrow. We love Bandcamp. I'll share this record next week if we have time. It's cool having these intro talks because there's a lot of interesting shit to talk about, but then we miss Bandcamp song of the week. But you know what?
We're schmoozing.
We're schmoozing. So yeah, T, what's up? Welcome to Schmoozing. It's great to have you. Where are you at? What's been going on? Let's start there.
Yeah, I'm currently in Canada at the moment. I've been here, so I've done my 14 days quarantine. I'm for the month. Well, I've been here for about a month now.
Oh wow, you just got there.
Yeah. Like literally recently. So yeah, for a month now. So like I've been out to walk out and about and get involved for like the last 2 weeks. I think it's been something like that. So yeah, it's been good. Just came back from Banff, and yeah, just here for the minute. Before that, I was casually in London. Probably the longest I've been in London for the last 10 years of my life, like maybe more, like to be honest. Like, and just down, but I haven't been like, I know you guys, and from what it looks like, Eli, you've been involved, you've been stuck in. Charlie, looks like you've been out of everything. You're just like away from the social media side of things, and I'm just like, I was off social media.
Yeah, you were off of social media.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah, I've been taking time off of that. Like, I kind of just was like, yeah, this is not. I mean, during the initial first part of lockdown, it was the first lockdown from last year, March. I kind of already had a feeling about like, yeah, this is not going to be good. But then, with George Floyd's murder and then the whole rise of Black Lives Matter, and everything, I just kind of was like, yeah, I'm checking out of this situation for the minute for my own like mental health, just to keep it 100. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like it's not been easy. It's not been an easy year in fairness, and same thing with like creativity in itself. I've been just trying to keep myself like fighting in the creative world and kind of like keep myself creative juices flowing, but on top of that, I've been teaching at Point Blank, lecturing over there. So I lecture twice a week over there on their music business and their music production introduction course as well for Logic. So that's been keeping me busy. That's what's actually been keeping me like kind of like feeling fresh about music and being really inspired by the next generation of producers and stuff that are coming through there and having conversations with them, and they're really keeping me inspired. And given, do you know what the funny part about it is? When you talk to us that have been in the game for like, maybe 10 years more, like we've got different views, but these guys, they are so optimistic about music and the future of music and everything else. And it's really inspired me as well. So like doing that at Point Blank and lecturing has been like a really big thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's been good. It's been good. It's been the one thing that's been like really positive during this time.
Is there like a sound that like a commonality, a common sound that like students are, or are they like real array?
Do you know what's funny? We talk about this. So obviously, Tech House is there fighting fit. Yeah. Still fighting fit, man. It's still fighting fit. It's pretty wild. But the on the other end of the spectrum for the UK, obviously where I'm at, we've got drill music. And drill music is coming through like UK drill.
That shit is exciting. That's exciting new music right there.
Definitely super exciting, and it's really exciting to see how it's like really like how different students that probably for me I probably wouldn't normally have seen them like but they're kind of connected to. So they've come from like band music and now they're making drill music, and that's like when it's really like you can see it's really hitting that point. You know what I mean?
What are some favorite? What's the hottest drill track right now?
That's the thing. I really don't know. I'm too old. I'm not gonna pretend like I even know anything about drill.
What's that fire, T?
I have no idea. But you know what I have been seeing? I wish I had this off the top of my tongue. There's an account on Twitter actually.
Oh, it's called Business Techno.
No, it's not Business Techno. But one of my friends has sent it, and that person is doing like drill like mashups with old grime a cappella or grime tracks. So like got a Skepta one. This dude's got a Skepta one. He's got a Escobar one. He's got a Wiley one. Like he's going in. It's dope. Do you know what? If I find it, I will definitely send it to you guys. But I can't remember the gentleman's name.
Yo, chat room. If you know what he's talking about and you got the link, pop it in there, and we'll run it on the screen.
Yeah.
Or if you know the fire drill track of that's super hot on Thursday, March 4th, 2021, because that's probably like the shelf life of the fire every day.
You know, I mean, like drill, it's like it's this really crazy music because it started in the UK, right? Like about almost 10 years ago now.
Do you know what? As far as I was aware, I thought drill music started in the States, in Chicago. That's what I
like that.
Started in Chicago, then went over to the
Chicago,
UK, and back to the US.
We took that style and mixed it up, and then it's now become like UK drill, which is the thing that we're sending back to. So people I do know this. So someone like Pop Smoke is someone that was from New York that was like really bringing that sound forward in the States. The UK drill style, kind of like bringing it to the States.
Right.
So
it started with Chief Keef in 2012 in Chicago. Right.
Chicago.
Right, and then went over to the UK, and then came back to the US to New York.
Yeah,
but it seems like it's popping the hardest in the UK now. I mean, really, a real tragedy. Pop Smoke,
real tragedy.
He was the next rapper, and he's so dope, and just like the production, man. Like, I don't love trap. I don't love trap music. I never really got into trap music. But somehow drill like has the grime, just the real raw production, like trap, like dark trap, kind of similar, but it was so dark. Whereas drill is like ice.
Yeah, it's got this fun element.
Cold, it's different.
Yeah, there's two sides to this. There's like the really cool side, which is like there is a fun element to it, which is like obviously the dances and stuff like that. Like, you know, people are actually dancing now, and there's people doing stuff. But then there's the other side to it, the kind of like, which again, that's probably the reason why I haven't got into it like that, because I don't really know streets like that in London anymore, in the UK. But there is
Edmonton, man.
Streets of Edmonton. Edmonton is icy as
icy over there.
Dude.
Yeah, we escaped that.
Mad ice.
Tim Horton's gonna roll up on you. You'd be like, yo, what's the difference between light and dark maple syrup? Tell me now.
Oh man, I've got no connection. It's jokes.
That's trappy.
Yeah, trappy.
Let's find some
He
drill.
looks like he's about to go skiing.
Yo, it's icy. Talk about icy, you know?
Yeah, nice.
Oh, here's maybe this one with Stormzy. This is the one. AJ Tracy. Yeah. And they got the Garrett sample.
Yeah, the Garrett sample.
I guess that's a reggae one. Bump and grind. It's
Is it Lady Cool?
Lady Star, Ninja Bike.
Ninja Bike, there it is. Which had a Garage remix, but it was a reggae track.
I'm icy too, shit.
Every day I look up to the Lord, give thanks for all this luckness. Come on, fresh out the system, gymnast. What do I smoke on Jones? There's one with a camera on me, not the one from Dipset. I still can't miss pleasure in business, sorry, princess.
Is that that curry joint that they're at?
What's up?
What's that curry joint? It looks like the interior of that curry joint.
Where was that?
East London. What's that joint? So good.
Oh, let's take us to. But yeah, I mean, look, once again, we're so sidetracked. We haven't even talked about Garage yet. We haven't even talked about our origin story.
Origins, yeah.
You guys could better rewind it and tell followers also about Garage, about the connection between the U.S. and the U.K., where it came from, how this sound happened, and how all these artists didn't just create songs, but like whole subcultures and subgenres. It's one of the most fascinating parts of dance music. I mean, there's almost nothing like it.
Well, I mean, look, let's talk about the origin story, right? First of all, UK Garage, I fell in love as a teenager. It's my first true love. You know, I was going to the UK with my parents in the summers. Started buying a bunch of stuff. Going to Oxford. Went to HMV buying records. Massive Records in Oxford.
Yeah.
Really into it, and you know, started like in the like around 2000 2001. There was like a small group of us in the US throwing garage nights, including me. I was doing a garage night in Boston with Gino Torius, Senyo, and Jam 2. Soul Champion Crew is what we were called. We even had a US garage conference in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
In I believe 2002 or 2003, when it was really like, you know, two-step at its peak, right when it was kind of turning to grime. And then I was, you know, lucky enough to connect with Martin Liberty Larner. I booked him for a party in Boston, and I also had him speak this when I was teaching a course at my uni, about dance music history. And I had Martin come speak about garage, and then he stayed with me for like a week. And Anna Sunbun asking what the Soul Champion Crew. Look, yeah, he brought it back. He brought it back, man. Gino Torius brought it back. My DJ name then was DJ Elite was my original name, but then I switched it to E Heavy the Bamboozler. That was my first.
There it is, Echo Lounge.
E Heavy the Bamboozler.
Echo Lounge. There it is. Look.
That's it right there. Yeah. So you know, so Martin was close
we've got
with
one like Gino Torius.
Wait, what are you
Respect
doing?
the Soul Champion Crew.
Wait a minute.
That's a new show.
That was a new show.
Wow, there's a whole other thing.
Where's the volume?
There's no volume on Mixcloud.
All right.
So Martin was like, look, come out to London, come play one of my parties. I can't pay you, but if you bring a bunch of tracksuits, we can go to the studio where we cut the dub plates, and everybody's going to buy tracksuits off you, and you'll pay for your trip. So like that's because I had taken this spot AJ Wright, which was like the Max, but like one step more, and like
it was right across the
Sean Echo urban gear.
We had our office building like right across the street,
right next to AJ
super
Wright.
Easy.
And so I flew over. You know, I got to meet Skibbity. I sold a bunch of tracksuits, and at that time, Martin Larner was one of the DJs for Sublo Crew, and so I played at Ministry of Sound with him in the Baby Box. And then we went to Amsterdam, and we played like a Sublo show with Johnny Cash and Cameo and the whole crew. And you know, I along the line I got to cut some dubs, and Martin gave me some tracks by this dude Dread D, which were like the hottest ones because they're like sampling Isley Brothers and Justin Timberlake and just like sampling R&B and shit. I was like, this is some other shit, man. This is some other shit, right? So,
oh wow, that's great.
Yeah. So I cut dub plates. I got Dreddy dub plates. in the repertoire. I still have those plates. They're pretty staticky, but I still have them. Here's a Dreddy track. Here's my favorite.
I got some rips though, E, if you need them.
Oh, I still have the audio file too.
What?
I mean, this never gets old, right? I still
crazy stuff, but like
this one, and then there's the Justin Timberlake, Crimea River,
yeah,
which is also a heater.
Wait, sorry. The chat room wants to know: is that Lana Del Rey in the background? It's time to explain the background, Eli.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to the background. Right now, we're talking about this.
Mate.
So okay. So fast forward. Fast forward 10 years to 2012. 2012.
Yeah. 2012, yes.
We drop our first Soul Club album, E-Funk, the album. And, you know, Rinse FM is like the biggest kind of internet radio station in the world at that time. And they're like, yo, come on. When you're in London and you can do a promo show, you can do a mix and have a chat with T.Williams. So we go on with T.Williams, and somehow, like, there's a garage track in our Serato, or like you play a garage track. We start talking about garage. And it turns out that T.Williams is Dreddy.
Surprise!
Crazy, dude.
It was crazy. I just genuinely was shocked at the fact that your love for garage, but also the fact like like Martin and people like that. These are people that like obviously I grown up with, like so. Yeah, it was just like insane. And then these tunes, these tracks here, man. Yeah, and you know what? The only reason why you didn't meet me back in the day when I was a lot younger is because I was studying. I was away from London studying like during those years, and I was quite shy when I was a kid. Like when I was younger, I was like quite shy. So I never used to turn up to like I didn't go to anything. I didn't even go to parties or nothing like that. I would just be like I'd be at home jamming, like whatever, making tunes like these, like edits, whatever. And then these guys would always have to tell me like that something has happened with like one of my edits or one of my tracks has gone off in the party or whatever. But I would hardly ever be there to kind of like see it or witness it myself, like in the event. The same thing, like Martin used to always like really big me up as well, like back in the days as well. Like so, yeah, like the good old days, man. Coming from garage. And funny enough, like you say, garage was your first love. My first love was jungle. Like, so for me, like I hated garage when it first came around. Like, funny enough, like, I can't even say this now. Like, it's weird to say it now. Like, it's so like in me now. But like, for me, it was like there was this thing back in the day. Like, where it was like I grew up on jungle. Right? I was like maybe like 8 or 9 when I got into jungle, and through one of my cousins was like, real junglist. And even my dad used to work at a youth club as well. He used to bring home like tapes from some of the kids that would be at the youth club, or like even buy records for the youth club so they could play like jungle tunes and stuff like that. So I got into it. And when you're young, you're naive, you kind of like get into music and you think, this is the only genre for me. No other genre is as good or better than. So when the shift came from like the times when jungle was getting really rough and ready in the clubs, and people would think bad things were kind of happening in the clubs, and garage was like the juxtaposition where everyone was dressed up nice, and it was all like a vibe, and the champagne thing, and the nice shoes and all the rest of it. Now,
Can I just drop a quick aside? This is what the picture behind us is. I'm gonna put my
exactly.
Yeah, dressed up night with matching Burberry top to bottom and Moschino belts.
It's all about the style. It was all about the style, man.
Yeah, people was flexing back in those days, like literally designers all day long, But I didn't. The funny part about it is even jungle had that element to it, but it was still a bit rough and ready. But garage was really like like loafers, like Gucci loafers, like it was like Crocs. It was really that vibe, So I didn't have the money for this. Do you know what I mean? I
don't got the money for this genre.
I don't have money.
Hilarious.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, and B, I love jungle, so I kind of was like, this is garbage. Like, I'm not here for it. Like, I'm really not here for it. But
it's that bling bling, yo. Fuck that bling bling.
Yeah.
It's like all that bling bling rap. You're like, nah, like backpacker, right?
I was like, no way. And you know what's funny? It was wild because I was at high school, right? So I'm at high school and I'm going to the youth club, like DJing at the youth club, still doing like buying records and all that kind of stuff. And like Friday nights at the youth club, it used to just be me at the youth club because everyone would be at this like under 18 party, which was a garage party happening in the local area. And a couple Fridays, like so let's just say a month and a half, 2 months of me being on the Friday night on my own. At first I was excited. Then I was like, this is getting kind of lonely. Just me here on my own playing these jungle records. So I ended up going like to the jungle rave, like everyone's chatting to girls and doing all that kind of stuff. The garage party. So I was like, let me go and get involved. I've gone to get involved, and there was a tune by this guy called DJ Youngster on his Pulse recording. I didn't actually send it to you. I should have sent that to you as it goes. But it's this dark side this dark side tune on Pulse Recordings by this guy DJ Youngster, not the dubstep Youngster, old school Youngster.
What? Not like what? Like Paul? That was that Pulse X or
no? The record label was called Pulse Recordings.
Okay.
And it was a garage record label from back in the day. And the tune was by a guy called DJ Youngster.
Youngster? No wait, it was
Youngster, like with the ER, not the AR, the ER. And yeah, so this tune plays anyway. This tune plays, and oh my god, like literally, it was so dark side and just so bass heavy. I was just like, I said, this garage? Is this meant to be garage? And it was just like my friends were like, yeah, this is what we've been, this is what we've been talking about. And then even other songs like Spin Spin Sugar, these other records that kind of like really like the speed garage thing as well, and all that kind of stuff. Like really was like, okay, I can see how this kind of like works for me. You know what I mean? This is a bit dark side. So I was sold. Then that was like Friday nights for me. Was down the under 18 party and started raving to garage and getting into it in that way. I was still a bit young for it, but I at the time I had, hence the name Dready, I had long dreadlocks down to like my bum and that, like, and I looked a lot older than I was at the time. Was a bit grizzly in the beard, you know, the teenage bum fluff kind of vibe. So, yeah, me, my good friend Dwayne, my other friend Alan, even like my old friend Lionel, these guys, like, yeah, we would end up going to parties, and same thing, like even like my brothers and sisters would, like, you know, to my sisters, my two big sisters in particular, would take me to over 18 parties as well. So yeah, and my cousin as well, my cousin Adrian. So big up them lot for giving me the education and taking me out. So yeah, it was that was the intro to garage, man. And to be honest, like, yeah, like it was like that was a thing at that time. You know what I mean? That was a thing in London. Like it was like, you know, you was a garage head. Like most people were garage heads. Like you know, they're like R&B and garage, or they're like jungle and garage, or whatever and garage. You know what I mean? And it was a big thing. Right?
No, I remember for me, like I had started learning about jungle. You know, I was getting into jungle, and then it was like, but I was also getting into house music, and like I also was coming from a hip hop kind of background, and my friends were all listening to dance hall, and so garage was like everything together in the pot.
Yeah,
it up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's sort of what Soul Clap was. At the origin was Eli playing garage and me playing house, and that's sort of like, yeah, that was sort of, because I come from, you know, I mean, I was into the first records I bought were also drum and bass and jungle records, but I quickly became a house head. And meanwhile, Eli was like playing jungle and working at the drum and bass jungle record store.
Wow, all right.
When he came over to cut those dev plates and sell those tracksuits, I had an internship in Tooting Broadway with M&2S, Melting Two Sugars.
No way.
And I had a DJ residency right by the Holiday Inn in at Old Street at this place called Liquid Bar. There was like this other spot right next door. It was like called like, what was it? Eli was like 10 cents was the name, 10 pence. And then the price of beer went up and it became like 15 pence. And then it was like 20 pence. By the time I left, they like kept changing the name. Anyway, crazy times.
Yeah, I found the track. He success in the Youngster Rumble.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn off your echo. See if it gets louder. I think you muted your mic. I can't hear that. We can't hear the track.
We can't hear the beat. We can't hear the beat.
Oh, it's because I didn't put on audio on the track. That's the problem. Womp womp. Producing.
Wait, do it again. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna do it again.
Oh, so we just hear it coming through your mic.
Yeah. Let me fix that. Share audio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I gotta rewind. Rewind.
It's got to have the read space on it.
Yeah.
What's the origin of I? What is that, Sam? That's like a reggae record.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. But you can, to be honest, like now I'm listening back to it, like you can hear why probably a junglist would have liked that. Like even not just the bass line, but like even the whole
that reach bass,
the little reggae and all the other little dubbed out sounds. Like that's
that record goes for that. There's 2 of those records available for £25 right now on Discogs. You know, it's what's crazy is looking at a lot of old garages, like prices will just keep going up as garage comes back more and more. The prices just keep going up.
Yep, 100%. That's true. I heard that in a while. I have not heard that in a while. Well, to put it like that, to even connect the dots. So basically, everyone here slightly was a junglist in the beginning, which is wild, and it's just like that was me. That was me. That was what I liked about garage. That was the early garage that I kind of like really first got into and was like, okay, well, this is a bit of me. This makes sense now. Like I can do this. But you guys were a house and garage duo, like.
So yeah, pretty much
duo in the beginning. All right.
But I think we've always sort of been eclectic, and now on the live streams playing a bunch of garage. I'm waiting for Eli to start to break into his drum and bass collection. I'm sure it's around the corner.
I mean, I've done a bunch of drum and bass shows for my radio show, so we'll have to do some on Twitch. I mean, it has to happen. I just haven't. There's so many records to play, you know.
I know Eli's sitting on like easily 5,000 jungle records over there.
Big shout out, Mr. Lex.
No way, like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, me and my homie just didn't have anywhere to keep his records. I have like my collection and his collection, and my parents' basement. I mean, I've rescued like a couple hundred now. I have here with me.
I'm sure it's
a lot more. So
yeah, big up Mr. Lex. He's an amazing junglist from Elemental Compound's crew in Boston, the crew that we were all down with. And he moved to the West Coast with his girl and just he left everything. I mean,
still there, man.
He was never one for like keeping the records in any order or in sleeves.
One of those. We all know those.
He was just like tossing them around.
You got everywhere after, whatever your bag full of, like all the records are scratched. Yeah, not in the best condition, but hey.
But there's some
amazing
records. My God. And he was like definitely into like the raga stuff too. So there's a lot of like reggae raga stuff. Not right, like not so much into like the tech stuff and all that.
I mean, there's a lot like this is we're talking about the like late 90s, 2000s. So jump up, raga, and then into like tech step and liquid drum and bass and just like the whole gamut. Really, we were just buying everything.
All right. Can't wait to hear it, man. Can't wait to hear that mix. I haven't played jungle in a long time myself. My records are just sitting there while they're back in London.
You know who's a secret jungle head? Is Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaurs. We had him on here, and he was like, all I listen to these days is jungle. That's it.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah,
mad. That's mad.
Yeah, man. But I guess let's fast forward, right? So you dropped the Dready, you got involved with the garage scene, and then how'd you end up making music? How'd you end up linking up with Martin? And tell us about that kind of the transition, I guess, from into two-step becoming pop music, basically, and then the transition from two-step becoming dubstep and grime, and kind of talk about that a little bit.
All right. So basically, Martin was like a local hero. I'm from a place called Norfolk in London. Like, Martin is from the same town as me in London, like Norfolk. I'm from like the Greenfield side. He's from the Oldfield Circus side. So Martin was like the he was like the big DJ from the area. Like, so again, always used to look up to Martin Lana, like big up Martin Lana. So for me, I went to college in Paddington. I went to St. Westminster College, and when I went to St. Westminster College, I met a friend of mine called DJ Dice. He used to be on a station called Lush FM. And me and him just, used to just kick it. But I used to go to Music House and cut dub plates and give it to him to play on radio. As I was giving him these dub plates to go and cut and play on radio, we have the likes of Johnny Cash listening to his radio show and kind of like connecting with him and stuff like that. And basically Johnny Cash was just like to me, like from the Black Ops crew, he was just like, yo, like these tracks, like he really liked them. So we had a day where I went round DJ Dice's house to have a mix, and Johnny Cash came round with a drop top Beamer outside and was like, yo, like, come out, let's have a chat. So we went outside. He drove me like around like Westbourne Park, like Laverne Grove in a drop top Beamer, playing me like a bunch of Johnny Cash dubs. which I was like, this is insane. Like literally just with the biggest, fattest sound system in this.
Oh my god, man! Yeah, I remember similar situation, right? Getting in Johnny Cash's whip with those subwoofers and the sub-low sound, man.
Yeah. And he just the whole time he was just like, you know, are you down? Are you down? Are you down? Are you down? Like I was like, yeah, I'm down. Like
let's rewind. Johnny Cash is like super jacked.
Yeah,
like, you know. He's and like, you know, putting out so many records constantly, funded by slightly nefarious means, right? You know,
yeah.
Super Jack West London dude driving the drop top Beamer, you know, like, you know, had some other things going on other than music, we can say.
Literally character, which I found out he's like a notorious grapher as well, and had been since like, you know, the late 80s, early 90s, some of the earliest graphers in London. He's like one of the first to be doing it in London.
What, graffiti artist?
Yeah, he's a graffiti artist, bro. Like his name was Rich. Like his graffiti tag is Rich, and it's like a classic graffiti tag.
Wow.
Yeah, he's one of the early guys in London to be doing that. He's known in the circuit, or at least his tag was known, and now he's known like himself.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, who's the graffiti legend plus Sub-Low King plus West London Kingpin, taking me out for a drive around in his Beamer with the fattest sound system.
Yes.
Asking me, am I down? Am I going to be part of this crew? So I was like, yeah. I'm part of the crew.
I don't think you had a choice.
I didn't really. It's like, what am I going to say to this guy? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those ones. I didn't have anything else going on anyways. So I kind of like started releasing music. So basically that was it. But the first track I ever gave him to release, like properly release, was Invasion. It literally was Invasion. Like that's the tune I gave him like to release. Like it was like my first ever like official release. And I was like 16, 17 when I gave it to him.
Let me bring that one up too.
Yeah.
Yo, we got to big up Ardalan and the Artie Party.
Oh, shout out to Ardalan.
Come on over. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Schmoozing. Shout out to Ardalan.
Raiders.
Yo.
All right, here we go with Invasion. That was your big first big tune.
This is the VIP, but yeah, nevertheless. Wow.
Ice cold.
Yeah, that's the old school sound. Yeah, that's it there, man. That's it there. I mean, I'm honest with you guys. That I was actually, the funny part about this stuff is I was actually trying to make garage. It's the worst thing in the world. Like, is this? I was trying to make garage, but at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have the finance for you know, all of the equipment that would have like needed. But that track in particular, I actually made on a sampler, an EMU sampler. I had an EMU ESI 4000, and those samples.
Which one was it?
Again?
Which sampler? Which EMU?
EMU ESI 4000. ESI 4000. That was the one I had back in the day. And this sample, it took me maybe like 6 months to a year to even get a sound out of it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Manual like that, like. I was clueless. Like I'm talking absolutely clueless. Like back then, but yeah, got the sounds out of it. Even the bass sound was something like you know back then you had to come with like your unique like bass sound. You had to be unique. like that back then. So I made that bass sound on SoundForge with a bunch of different.
Shit, did I just
That's
bump you?
exactly the sound, the sampler that I had, man. Yeah, just so much fun, so much days like in the studio, just in my bedroom, just with that sampler.
I want to give some context and be like garage was kind of sounding more like this at that time, right?
100%.
Oh, what a heater! I didn't even know this song.
The Colonel Abrams vibe.
Colonel Abrams, yep.
I love a re-sing. Actually, it could just be the original sped the heck up, huh?
I think that's the original sped up. I think it is. Sounds like a sample for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But like even more extreme, like this is what was on the radio at that time, right?
Are you talking like BBC or are you talking pirate radio?
I mean, everywhere, right?
Pirate radio. Now you're talking a whole other medium for getting the message out there. You know, pre-internet.
So even with things like this, they were this even though this became commercial. This was like an underground banger.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's a big step, right, to go from this like kind of like music that the girls love, everybody loves on the radio, sound of the summer, and then all of a sudden it's like grind.
Yeah, dark side central. Well, the funny part about it is there's a few. I mean, everyone always talks about like the first grind tracks or what was the first grind tracks or whatever it was. I mean, just me as a raver when I was younger, like when I was raving, like for me there was like two moments that really happened that kind of like changed things and also changed things for me as a producer, trying to make garage or whatever. So there was the tune Dilemma, So Solid Dilemma. That track was a number one. That was probably like the number one culprit for a lot of people kind of like feeling like they had the balls or the rights to kind of like try to attempt to make garage, because this track here was just like the most stripped back, like piece of dirt like that. Used to go
roll the dice, number 4. Burn up the dance floor. Roll the dice, number 1. Look at the wrist, DJ, you're the Dana. Roll the dice. It's the way we're rolling tonight. I like the stars in the sky. I like the moon that's so high. I like the sun in the cloud. Guaranteed to run the crowd. Like her cloud for the way dark and gray.
But wait a second, the instrumental was what really popped.
The instrumental was the one that used to go on in the clubs. That's the one that used to play.
Yeah. It's so
the instrumental of that would be the one. They get that one.
Watch out Wu-Tang, because Soul Solid Crew is like, they got more members.
They were so deep.
So deep. So solid.
Here it is.
The special technique of shadow boxing.
Yeah, there you go. Let's talk about Wu-Tang.
I feel like they kind of were like, they were kind of like modeled themselves after Wu-Tang. In a way, They're like, we have our whole crew, we're each going to put out our own albums, This is like taking it and trying to be the garage Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
It's that bass just goes and then stops. So this is
it's the wildest thing to listen to as well. Like,
turn that release all the way up.
Yeah. Stop.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Yeah, I guess that's kind of one of that kind of started it, right?
Yeah, that's when it was like the earliest track to be like, okay, well, you know what, we can, like, anyone could do this right now. Like, like you didn't need the fluffy, airy vocals. You didn't need it was so strict. Bass, drums, that's it. Here we go. We're done, like kind of thing. So that was the first track. So they were on one side there was that, which was like kind of like the youth kind of coming through and building stuff. And then on the other side of it there was Wookie with Scrappy.
I love Wookie.
Like, and that tune there was like, again, like a dark side kind of garage hybrid in itself. That really like filled that void for me. That made it feel like, okay, you know what? There's this out right now. There's Dilemma. There's Wookie. I can fit in here. This can.
Oh yes. Wookie the best. Wookie's the best.
Yeah, the legend.
It's funny, like this sound I kind of associate also with like DJ Zinc 138 track and like everything that kind of came with that after too. This was kind of simultaneous, right? And this is like the jungle meets garage in a way.
Exactly. So this is the incremental change, like from like 99 to like 2002. Like that's the incremental change in the garage, but that's also the incremental change in like people like myself getting involved and getting trying to be involved. And even Johnny, like so Johnny Cash's first release would have been like 1999. Would have been would have been something. It would have been like 1999, yeah. So that would have come out 1999. He would have been promoing that in 1999, in the same year as probably this, and probably like Dilemma was around at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's slowly moving, and obviously at the same time we have people like Oris J, and that kind of like moving in the same sense. But that's also being branched off into like the forward and the dubstep thing that was going to go on with all the guys, the boys in Croydon, like Scream, Benga, and Harvick and people like that.
Right.
So,
yeah, we had Scream on here. We talked a lot about that early dubstep sound too, the forward sound.
Yeah, man. And the funny part about it is, I think I said this to you before. Like early days with the Black Ops crew, like when I first started joining that, like was like playing shows. We used to play like Subloaded, like in Bristol, which is like a Bristol like staple, like dubstep rave. Like we used to play like Subloaded in Bristol. We played Subloaded in Bristol, or we would go to like Amsterdam to play Oi in with DJ Gomez in Amsterdam, which is a big dubstep rave as well. So a lot of the time, even in the beginning, the grime and the dubstep would be in the same room. And the same thing with Forward. They used to play our dubs as well at Forward as well. So it was just like kind of the whole thing was just moving in this more like dark side. It's dark side way. And I was here for it.
The big difference, right, is like dubstep is more like head down, like, you know, that kind of like just the beats, right? Maybe a little MCs, but more about the beats and like just the stripped down minimalness. Whereas grime was more about the MCs, right? At some point, that's like their split happened.
Well, this is the funny part. Like, so obviously, this is what I always like to talk about because the time when grime became grime and it became the term grime, the genre, the queen was queen. I was already at a point where I was like, I was into house music at that point in time. I was already like,
like I'm out of here.
Yeah, I was already like, this is not really like, I don't really want this anymore. I don't really want this like that like anymore. And even Johnny was like on the titter because obviously we had the whole Sublo thing and then we had the Esky thing at the time, and these were the names that we were calling them. But really and truly, in the middle here, I don't know coined the term grime, but it was more like a media, like the media was more calling it grime in itself, like a more referring to both genres and styles as grime in the middle. I didn't like my music being called grime at all. Like I like you can ask a lot of these grime producers from back in the day, like like Target, like Genius, these people. We didn't like the term. Like Johnny, we didn't. The term grime was like it wasn't what we really wanted at the time.
It feels like it has a negative connotation. It's dirt.
Like,
grime is dirty.
It made it feel like our music was less than. And as well as that, we had not only did you have that, then you had the garage circuit, the garage scene not really liking that new style, that new wave of music, kind of like they were really pushing in that direction as well, which like I didn't feel it like that, but like it happened, where the garage scene was really like we're trying to get that music out of our clubs.
Old school DJs like trying to be
original, No, not that he did in particular, but there's that kind of like you know what I mean. And Martin was probably one of the only that really like came across and was like, I'm going to be a part of this and really embrace it. So there was a lot of that, and I didn't really that term like I really wasn't about. So for me with the whole grime thing, I was ready to duck out at that point in time. I was ready to call it to get into house music before that. And dubstep and grime, like I always think about like dubstep and grime, like similar times, different areas in London, of course, than people, but definitely tunes like so. The Midnight Request line was like would get played, like get battered in the grime events. Like that was like Scream Street. Like it was like it's like a standard in itself. Like do you know what I mean? And a bunch of other dubstep tunes would get the other way around. So even like Joker, like Gully Brook Lane as well was another song that used to get battered in both worlds. And what for me, a lot of it came from that focus of the difference between like that scene became more about the MCs and that scene became more about the producers and DJs. If you notice, like there's not many superstar grime producers or DJs, so to speak. Whereas if you take like the whole Scream, Benga, Artwork, Quest, Koki, Mala, all of these people, like they're DJs and producers, and they're the heroes. Yeah, that's the Scream.
Oh, that's so quiet here. I'll try to find a better audio.
Yeah. So in theory.
Weird. For some reason, it's not working. I don't know. Keep talking. Sorry.
All right. So for me at the time, I always felt like grime. It kind of like came to a point where it felt like if you was a grime producer, he wasn't really a producer. Like it was a big thing. Like you was one of the kids playing on PlayStation that made music on PlayStation. That kind of vibe. And don't get me wrong, there was some great grime classics that were made actually on PlayStation at the same time. But there's also some
what did they use on PlayStation? What was
Music
like the program?
Music 2000.
Music 2000.
Yeah, Music 2000 was the one that kind of like turned it for everyone. That was the one that everyone was I guess making music on at the time. And also it had a functionality where you could actually sample into it as well through the PlayStation. Yeah, it was crazy. So but nevertheless, still most of like the people that I knew and I kind of like worked around. So people like Xander Hardy, who DJ Virus, who made Roosting. Then you've got someone like DJ Eastwood. You've got obviously myself, Johnny Cash, Charmsy, Youngster. Like none of the people I knew personally made music on a PlayStation. It was everyone was using either a computer or hardware in itself.
Yeah. I mean, you hear how it's like let it drop.
Yeah, I think
it's similar, but it's different, right? Like there's that little, it's so similar, but there's the dubstep has that like that half step always, right? Whereas the grime is like it's just much more like consistent.
Yeah. I still agree on the level of the differences in terms of what people were doing at the time, and that it was two clear different genres and two clear snapshots of that. But there, like I said to you, there was guys that the crossover, should I say? Maybe if you want to play like a Guy Book Lane or something like that,
like Dizzy Rascal, right? This is like
see the funny part.
This record blew up in the States, like top 40.
He was the only
It's one of the only examples.
But it was like a hipster. It was like a hipster fucking jam. Like he was.
Here, send me the link, Eli. I'm gonna play it on mine because I think we just hear it coming through your speaker, your laptop mic.
Let me try. I must have. I must have when I was having the audio problems. I must not have checked the box. Let me do it one more time.
Johnny Macaroni in the street in the chat. What about the Streets? That was a big crossover.
Definitely.
But that's sort of maybe a little bit different, right?
Yeah, that was the garage thing. That was still an extension of the garage at the time. But they did bring in a lot of like later on down the line they were doing a lot of work with like a lot of grime acts as well.
Keep calling my phone, don't leave me alone. Just moan and groan, keep ringing me at home. These days I don't answer my phone.
That boy's some killer, all up in my hair. Thinks that I care, following me here, following me there. These days I can't go nowhere.
Alright, she's a bad girl on the bus though. It's Captain Roscoe with a crossbow.
So, can I give you the joke?
Yeah,
I want the joke.
By the time this was big, I was done with grime.
Yeah.
I was onto house. Like I was well and truly like, and that was probably not that I didn't like Dizzy Rascal was amazing, but that was already at the point where it was like so far gone down the line. The producers were like, we were nothing to the scene. Do you know what I mean? It was the MCs were like gods. Do you know what I mean? And the producers was like,
well, that makes sense because like not to discount the beats because the beats are so heavy.
Beats are hard,
power everything, but it's like it's so simple, that it's like maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, there was the beats were so. That's what that even with Invasion, even with my earliest ones, like it was. You did the reason why it connected so well because there was so much space for MCs to kind of like sit on the track itself, But and funny enough, in that kind of like came full circle. Where you made beats to kind of like make it have space for people to kind of like sit on them, to kind of spit on it, and all the rest of it. But then almost. That was the opposite of what I wanted from the club. If in the terms of like me going clubbing, I hated seeing MCs on the stage, like a pile of MCs on stage.
Right. Everyone's grabbing for a mic.
Yeah, like the DJ's getting bullied to play songs that he didn't even want to play. Like it was a whole thing. It was like this is not for me, like at all. And even then, I think even to mention it, maybe around the year 2002, 2003, 2004, around that era, that's when vinyl and the whole digital iTunes download thing happened as well. That it kind of like coincided exactly with that moment. So we went from selling to talk about like Invasion, selling 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 records. Do you know what I mean? Down to barely shifting like 500 records by a year or two later. It was like, so we can't shift the records. We're not respected like in terms of the MCs are like the gods over here. The DJs just playing what the MCs want. I was like, nah, it's time to go house music. It's time to go that way. Do you know what I mean? It's time to.
But how did you connect the dots? Like, how did you enter into house music in a way that still represented your love of drum and bass and jungle and the tonalities of sub-low and I'm not going to call it grime.
Yeah.
Out of respect to you, I'm not going to call it.
Yeah, the sub-low. So again, back to being from West London. Like I'm from West London, and there was a sound like emerging in West London, even in the early sub-low grime days. Like there was Broken Beat, which is and they're from they're from West London as well. They're from like Ladbroke Grove around that way, and that was like a sound that. Even though I was into that was a sound that still spoke to me. And it just not necessarily to like play it out or doing it, just to buy records and be a spectator of the genre itself. And then also we used to go to co-op as well, like every now and again, because Johnny was a little bit older than me, and so he knew those guys. So we'd go and like step into the arena and kind of like get to hear some different beats and get inspired. So my connection to like house music kind of came from going to co-op, going here in Broken Beat, and they would always play like a bit. They would always play like Kenny Dope, like some of the Kenny Dope stuff, like as well, the Eddie Kenny Dope stuff, the kind of hip hop stuff that over there as well. And then also becoming someone that was, I would also go to Martin Lana's night called Liberty, and Liberty used to have he was the old school. It was like a play. So in a time when kind of like grime was pushing forward, Liberty used to do. Martin Lana used to do a garage night in Vauxhall called Liberty, and that night used to run, and it would be garage and whatever. But then there would be like a second room with like Mr. Buzzard and other people, like Hermit and people like that, playing either broken beat or house music as well.
So kind of like more like the grown for the grown folks a little bit more.
For the grown folks, yeah. For the grown folks, yeah. It was a grown and sexy affair. Like it was a grown and sexy affair. So then I used to, every time I would be leaving to go home, I would go into the house room, like, and just get a little taste of it. And then it became the point where I would just go into the house room, and that's where I wanted to stay. And they'll be playing like the sets that I really enjoyed and really loved at that point in time was when people were playing like soulful house, Afro house, broken beat mixed in there as well. And they would even some DJs would even throw a couple garage, like 2-step garage tunes in the mix as well to keep us like keep it a little bit spicy. So yeah, I used to love that. So that became like a regular thing. And as that became a regular thing, there was a DJ called DJ Wigman who was part of the Black Ops crew who ended up starting to play that music. And that was me. I was kind of like, at that point, I was just so sold on house music and dance music in a general sense. That is it. Yeah. So you got the heartbeat. Actually, we've got like a.
I was gonna say, like, I forgot. This is the missing dot, right? Before we connected in 2012, I just got busted. All of it is busted in. Before we connected in 2012, this was one of my favorite songs of 2011. Like this Paul Wolford remix of your track already. So I was like, when they told us we were going to be on T.Williams' show on Rinse FM, I was like, that's so dope because this is one of my favorite songs right now.
It's one of almost favorite songs too, apparently.
Yeah. So let me turn this one up. But like by 2011, you're releasing big house records, right?
There's no one for me. You can feel my heartbeat, and I will never be the same. You decide your head of me, so take me and own me. Please control my heartbeat.
Jam.
And make it go.
Sounds so dope today, man. Tune.
I was looking for videos of when we played at Movement Detroit 2011. Our first time playing Movement, I remember playing this record.
Yes.
I couldn't find a video of it, but like this was a big tune. That whole summer was huge for us.
Yeah.
And I remember I would always mix it with Aquarius Heaven Universe. These two were perfectly together. But yeah, so I mean, by that time you were an established house producer. So what was like how'd you get there?
So basically, what did I do? So that period, I took the time out to kind of like, just to focus on listening to house music and writing house music and doing all that, and kind of like digging back into the garage world as well, because we were listening to house music back then. It was house and garage, right? So we were listening to house music. Some of those records were old, like Masters at Work records, you know, and we was into it, you know, or even Todd Terry, you know, these characters that we were listening to back in the 90s that I didn't realize were actually house producers from the States. So I just don't. I mean, and by 2008, 2009, I began like to run a record label with one of my friends at the time, and we started releasing tunes from our close friends, Jay Bevan, even MA1 released with us as well, like these guys. And then we got approached by Local Action, which was run out of Phonica Records in London. Tom Lee, who used to be the editor at Fat Magazine, just approached and was like, you know, really like the music, wanted to get involved and wanted to release some music for me. So we released my first EP with them in 2010, with him in 2010, which was a T.Williams EP. And then I went on to release the Heartbeat record with him, so me, Terry Walker, the Heartbeat Situation. And then Paul Wolford heard the track in Phonica Records and just reached out via Phonica to say that he really liked it and wanted to remix it. And he just like went away and did this, like, and came back and just dropped it on my lap, like here you go. I didn't know Paul Wolford. I didn't really even know his music at the time. Like I had heard some of his electro house stuff back in the day, but I didn't know of his name. And I was just like, yeah, cool, whatever, sure. Like people told me that he was a dope guy. He was a cool guy about it, and he did it. And that was the result. And if I'm honest with you, that was like really the moment where from, you know, we had bass music in 2010, you know, and that was the moment where people in like kind of like the house world really started to like actually pay attention and wanted to play certain songs of mine, or even like digging backwards a little bit and playing things like Afrique and stuff like that going forward. So it was a good moment, and I have to like obviously like big up Paul Wolford for even reaching out to do the remix in itself, because that definitely opened up a whole new lane for me.
Yeah, at that moment he was still riding high on Erotic Discourse.
Erotic Discourse, yes.
Yeah.
That's a fact, yeah.
I mean, he's a great dude, and then he's like blown up even more now with his Special Request project over the last few years. I mean, that's Special Request is, you know, big new rave style.
I just want to throw in just T, when you were talking about going to the side room and hearing like Kenny Dope records and the broken beat style, that there's like such like, you know, Masters at Work plays such an integral role at like bridging the gap between house and garage in the UK and in New York and what was going on in the US. And there was a really awesome article in Discogs about Carl Tough Enough Brown talking about like back in the day working with Louis Vega and Kenny and some really wild, amazing. I'll have to go. I'll go pull it up and throw it on the screen. I sent the photo to Eli. It was a great photo of them back in the day. But anyone that's interested, there's some really cool article. I'll put the link up, and you could learn about some of like they put some of his, because I guess he's got a Discog shop. Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me that, man?
I did. I sent you the link.
You're keeping these secrets.
Send me the picture.
I sent you the link.
Tell me about Carl Tough Enough Brown. I said, send me the picture. Damn.
Well, I'll send it to you now.
I'm sure all the good shit's already sold out.
Yeah, the good stuff's gone. The good stuff's gone. That's for sure.
I was gonna say, T, we're kind of running out of time, but there's one other thing that I felt like is so important, kind of going back to our initial conversation today about this idea of like privilege and the kind of the bleaching of music, of dance music, the separation of black music and white music, and kind of white producers going a lot further in a lot of situations over the last 10, 20 years. And we had spoken offline about, this kind of, at some point, this split between dubstep and grime, and just like the way that the parties were licensed just being kind of at the heart of dubstep's ability to end up winning kind of that battle.
100%. There was a form that we used to have to fill out when we were throwing parties in London in particular. And man, you know what? It's so good that I've forgotten the name of this form, because the point is the form was an absolute bitch. I hate it. But I can't remember the name of the form. There is actually a documentary with Elijah from Butters and JME with regards to this form that we used to have to fill out. But that form in itself was a form that used to mean that basically they would do like a risk assessment of your party and tell you whether you can actually have the event or not. Not only on top of that, there was a lot of like pulling of events before, like directly before the night. So the police would just go to the venue directly before the night and tell the venue that they're not, they can't hold your party anymore. And this didn't just happen during the grime scene. This also happened to like the UK funky scene as well. So the UK funky scene in its fledgling years, like had again a similar moment where there used to be a lot of parties being pulled and taken away. So this form in itself meant that a lot of the music, so those two scenes in particular, so grime and UK funky, it meant that because they were the people that were attending these parties were predominantly people of color, that they could not thrive in that moment. So ultimately, if there's no parties to go to listen to the music, then what happens to the underground music? It doesn't exist anymore. Also, not only on that, it was kind of like twofold. They were cracking down and clamping down on pirate radio stations. At this point in time, like for now, One Extra is a great station, right? But at this point in time, the reason why One Extra came about is because it was the juxtaposition to the pirate radio stations. It was BBC's way of being like, okay, we're going to take some of the best like black DJs and put them onto a legal station, but not the main station. We're going to put them on the side station here, which is called One Extra, and it's only on digital as well, so on and so forth. So now we can kind of like try to clamp down. We can say, well, you've got your radio station over here. You don't need to do the pirate thing anymore. And they really were clamping down on the pirate thing. So that's why people like, they talk about ASBOs and people like Slimzy getting an ASBO where he couldn't go past in any building past the second or third floor, I think it was. Like otherwise he would go to jail and things like that. Like that came into effect. That happened. Yeah, it was a crazy time. But people, the way to look at it is like that was all happening to kind of like really suppress not only just the radio station, because this is the outlet for the music, but to suppress the actual the actual culture that was growing, the ability to move. And so there was garage died out, there was grime on the rise, which they went to clamp down on, which UK funky rise, that the latter part of the decade, which got clamped down on as well, and the pirate radio stations, which pretty much got eradicated because even stations like Rinse FM only exist because they managed to gain a community license, which a lot of people don't know. But that was the defining point of Rinse FM, is when they gained a community license, then they were allowed to stick around. Whereas all their other contemporaries that was around at the same time as them, now gone. They're just a memory right now. Right. Similar to one of our only stations, our black stations in London called Choice FM, which is now Capital Extra. So it got bought out by one of the biggest, by Global now. So that got bought in as well at that same time. This was all in the noughties. This is all as things were moving and changing and shaking, and as these new, like as the UK does, all these new genres were like emerging. Now, if we look at dubstep as a genre, it managed to thrive because it could have those parties, and in some senses, it was not to take anything away from the music or the people that were a part of it or anything like that, and not to say that it didn't have its like connotations as well at the time. But we saw dubstep accelerate at a rate that it was insane. It's like grime and dubstep were like here, and then dubstep was just like there.
Whoa, echo. Did my echo camera get turned off?
How about now?
Yo. Okay, better. Yeah, he brings up, are you guys going to discuss how American dubstep somehow emerged from UK dubstep? I've never properly understood this. I mean, this is the point, right? Is like dubstep was allowed to thrive and then became a genre that turned into basically became EDM and sparked a multi-billion-dollar industry, that is dominated by white DJs and producers.
Yeah, and it's a decade cycle for in the UK. Where I always talk about it, like we do have some staples, but as black DJs, black dance DJs in the UK, there isn't like as many staples. So even when we talk about Carl Tough Enough Brown or Matt Jam, these people, well, Carl Tough Enough isn't, they didn't want to be, but a lot of these people from that garage circuit, they're not global touring DJs. They're not even in our shoes. They're DJs that they kind of like solely carved out their situation like that. And then, you know, if you want to take on top of that, I know personally, you know, so many DJs, black DJs in London that like were like the movement of kind of like being the people that influence people like even like Ben UFO and Hessel Audio and these cats, or even like Night Slug and these cats, you know, like kind of like that early, like that post dubstep kind of like UK funky situation. And these cats aren't around anymore, like, you know what I mean? But obviously we know what's happened with, you know, again, no shade on those guys, you know what I mean? They've done their thing, but we know what's happened with Hessel Audio and the rest of the cats that come in that circle and then around that, you know, it's definitely a thing that to kind of like look at it from that perspective. But when I look at those noughties, I do look at it not fondly at all, because it was really hard in that moment. And I even personally had to kind of like leave like kind of like that mindset of the kind of like black London scene and kind of like attempt to kind of like make something of myself in another scene, which I should never have had to do in the first place, because only because I didn't want my parties getting locked off. I wanted my parties to go from beginning to end. You know, I used to throw parties in London all the time, and it was such a hard slog in the noughties at itself. But again, that was only because predominantly the people that were attending my party were people of color. Like as soon as I changed the target audience, risk assessment averted. we didn't even need to fill out the risk assessment. It was just like, go ahead, do your party. Job done, you know. And then it's so sad, and it's yeah. So that plays a big part in the musical journey. It also plays a big part in me kind of like changing the genres that I kind of like was a part of and liked, you know. So grime had its moment, but it was, you know, it was getting to a point, you know. And I'm not going to take away the parts that and make it airy fairy, because some of those parties were dangerous. They did have elements of that, but I also had some absolutely awesome times at these like grime clubs or at like UK funky nights and all the rest of it. Like I was there in the early days of UK funky in London, going to parties like Red Carpet, you know, and seeing DJs like I said, like Wigman, like Gavin Peters, Footloose from Jungle Days, and you know, all these characters, like seeing them do their thing and seeing them kind of like forge something new for the UK, something that the UK is very proud of dance music wise. You know, even in the States, you guys know what UK funky is and enjoy it. But
yeah, for sure.
The London scene, it was so hard.
Well, also, I would say something like UK funky come from this moment did not, you know, it's so niche. Like only a few people in the US will know what UK funky is if you talk about it.
Yeah.
Whereas dubstep, you know, dubstep defined dance music in the early 2010s in the United States, and like I said, created the EDM ecosystem and industry, right? Like, you know, all these like white American artists, or if, you know, a few white UK artists coming over here and bringing it, and then white American artists making the like, you know, American dubstep sound, multi-billion-dollar industry. So you see how, you know, this is a concrete example of how, you know, systemic racism can play a role into who ends up being able to benefit in the music industry. Like, so, you know, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, when we talk about how dance music is black and needs to be, you know, this is what we mean. Like, this is like when systemic racism actually has real financial consequences and real consequences on people's lives in music. I'm not even getting into the broader
exactly,
right?
Exactly. But this is the thing. Like even when I teach and I talk about it, I talk about the opportunities in music, right? The opportunities to feel like you're comfortable in the space, to feel like you're welcomed in the space. And I always talk to my students about this, like, you know, especially when I get people of color or black students coming through, you know, and they always ask me, you know, they talk about like touring the world and, you know, playing shows around the world and being the only black guy on the lineup, or being that I've only seen any black people for like, you know, maybe the last 3-4 days of my life, because those are the places that I'm touring. And it's like, I explain to them, like, you know, that it isn't an easy road in itself if you're aware of it in that respect. So like someone like me coming from London and coming from a predominant, like the scene that I've come from was predominantly black. Like like from up until the point where I started the T.Williams project, that point, don't get me wrong, there was a mixture, but it was predominantly black people in that scene. As soon as I started T.Williams and had a career in music, all those black folks were there, and I was obviously over here on my own, and that's a hard moment, because
I would imagine so, man. I was gonna say, how does that make you feel? You know,
it was. Do you know what? The first year, the first 6 months, I think I felt very privileged, and then I really started to check it and really understand why I was there and how I managed to get there. Like, so, like I'm fortunate enough to come from, like, my family setup is quite it's set up in a way that I could continue to do music for as long as I wanted to do. There wasn't a problem for me to do that.
That's great.
A lot of my friends, you know, they really, you know, they had to get into, they might have had children or whatever, and there was a lot of things, and their family setup wasn't able for them to continue doing that. Plus, it was so volatile. They had to, you know, you had to balance it with, if you take a hit on a party, you often spend like $3,500, $5,000 on a party, and you don't make your money back on that party. That's a hit. You have to explain to your mum, your dad, your wife, your kids, whatever it is, why you haven't got that money anymore now. Yeah, and if you want to go again, you have to explain to them why you need to go again and what this means to go again. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm privileged. I'm privileged enough to be in a position where that my family kind of like gave me a base to kind of like be able to kind of make mistakes and do all this kind of stuff like in C. But lots of my friends, a lot of my black friends, they don't have that, you know, where it was that you can make those mistakes and kind of like go through it, and those mistakes weren't my fault or our fault. A lot of it was the systemic racism that was placed on top of us by these forms that they were put in place, you know, and just general prejudice in the party scene in London in itself, and that's just because of the UK. So for me, the first 6 months, I guess I had a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. But then there was a line beyond that kind of like I was very aware and hyper aware of, like, you know, walking up and turning up onto lineups and being the only black person on a festival lineup, you know what I mean, and being or on my stage, for instance, like, and being like, this is like, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not even the best DJ. I'm not even the best for my area. I'm not the best DJ. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm looking at it like, okay, I know I've done the things to be in this position, but I was like, hold on a second here. This is wild. This is actually wild. Like, you know, and again, similar things. Like, I'm not to say the least, but, you know, you've got the whole team around me at that point in time was white, because that's what the world was. Like, it just was what it was. Like, it is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, my friend over here, my black friend over here, he's not going to be my manager at that point in time because he hasn't got the connections to get me to where I need to be at that point in time. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of thinking, and, you know what I mean? There was a lot of thinking. My touring, you know what I mean? Like, the last decade, you know what I mean? There was a lot of that kind of like thinking about these things and really, really trying to think, like, how can, like, you know, so that's why I talk about it when I'm lecturing, and kind of like get both students, black and white, to understand like how the system actually works, you know what I mean? And to remember, like, you know, if you have this friend like that is super talented, and, you know, when we always talk about people that are like super talented but they never ever make it, you know what I mean? There's additional factors to why someone cannot make it in the music industry, not just talent's probably like way down the list. Do you know what I mean? It's like those additional factors is always to be kind to people and kind of like think about those people in that moment. So think about the guy over there. Like, so for me personally, I've always, if you look at my roster for the people that I've released, I personally released music from, I took my own hard-earned cash and released music from. I attempted to try and release music from people that I felt like wouldn't get that opportunity. So other black people that I felt like wouldn't get the opportunity. I have an amazing story about a young producer called Kenneth, who I released music from. And it was funny, it was his mum who came to me and was like, yo, you got to release music from me. Oh, actually, Eli, I talk about Prescribe the Vibe, like, as well. Prescribe the Vibe. It was his mum who spoke to my mum. It was his mum who spoke to my mum and asked me over a decade ago to give him an opportunity. You know what I mean? It's things like that
no
means
way.
Yeah, serious. Prescribe the Vibe. None of you know the guy.
Dude, see, this is actually how our industry works. It's moms hustling other moms behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I feel like ultimately there needs to be, you know, whatever I can do, I do. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, but it needs to be more awareness. Just the same way around, like, you know, we make it aware. Like, even with other DJs, someone like Tash LC, who I've known since she was a young kid as well, and people like that. Like, it's just making these dots and connecting it and making people aware, but also understanding like the touring schedule of someone who's black going and touring, and then, you know, coming from a black scene and then being predominantly in a completely white scene, and also sometimes not even feeling like you potentially fit I know I'm rude, but I know my music. I know my shit, like regardless of anything. But sometimes you don't necessarily feel like you fit or belong on this thing because none of these people are from where you're from. None of these people necessarily understand who you are or what it is. I've had the kind of comments I've had during the years, like kind of like sometimes one comment that stood out to me was when I was in New York at Red Bull Music Academy, and actually two comments that has played a massive role. Red Bull Music Academy, I'm there, whatever, and there was another DJ that come up to me and was basically trying to talk to me as if he knew I was from the hood or from the ghetto or whatever it was, like, and really playing and putting weight on the fact that, you've done grime, so you must be from the hood. Like, Is
it an American or a British guy?
He's a British guy.
Yeah.
British guy. It was crazy to me, like, but he's a British guy. You know what I mean? But just didn't know me. I felt like he would forge a bond with me based on the fact that he kind of had some kind of knowledge of the hood, you know what I mean, or whatever. I don't know, some knowledge of grime or whatever it is. And I kind of like proceeded to tell him that, I'm from Norfolk, which is in Middlesex. So it's a suburb of London in itself. You know what I mean? That's where I've grown up. I've grown up in Ealing, which is a very affluent area in itself. These are not everyone that was making grime was from Bowie 3.
From the ends.
Yeah, from the ends. Unfortunately, for the famous story, And then the other side of it was another time, I was playing at Fabric. I played in Room 1 at Fabric. It was me, Moxie, and Basement Jacks. I think it was it Basement Jacks? Groove Armada. Sorry, Groove Armada, not Basement. Groove Armada. Like, and I played the last set, so the final closeout set for the night in the main room. And one of like Groove Armada's entourage kind of like was there. They were all there in the booth. You remember how the DJ booth was in the main room and all the rest of it. And he came to me. I thought he was paying me a massive compliment, but he basically just said to me, I've never heard a black guy from London play house music like that.
Oh no!
And I was like what? And he was like, you know house music kind of thing. And I was like, again, it's like, is this music not black music in its first instance, anyways? Like, what are we getting at here? Now, by the way, this comment could well have been because he's been to enough shows and seen enough lineups with only white males on the lineup and so on and so forth, and he's thinking in his head, this is an amazing compliment. You play like a white male. Like, I was like, this is insane. But don't get me wrong, there's been loads of little comments along the years and loads of little things along there. I've had to check people and kind of like be like, that's not cool because like it has nothing to do with that. Literally, I know house music and house music is black music. Like,
you could have snapped back and been like, I've never seen a unintentionally racist person, white unintentionally racist person act like a racist motherfucking bitch. In my face.
Like this is like some of all of this is like just like acknowledging these issues is such an important first step. It's like only just a teeny little minuscule one, but until we can all get to that point, how can we move forward?
Yeah. I'm here. Kind of even recording these stories, man. It pisses me off. Like to be fair, but I'm like. Sometimes I think in my head. I imagine what other, because I've never heard this from another black touring DJ. I've never heard this. I've never heard another black DJ from the UK or from the States tell me about the little nuances of like touring and race. Even when I talk about this is a funny one now, where I've been on tour with like Disclosure or like Moscow or something like that. Like we've been going somewhere, whatever, and I get stopped. And obviously people always look at me like it's kind of in one of the ways where like because they're not with me at every show or every time I'm traveling, they're like kind of like, oh, chill, it happens. It's kind of like it happens, but it always happens to me. And if I'm with my friend it happens to be a white person, it's still definitely happening to me. Like so, it's kind of like that situation where you're traveling and you're touring and you're doing your thing, and even some of the people that are around you don't really understand that. Yes, I'm a DJ and I have a certain level of privilege when I'm going to different cities and getting picked up, and but it's also still that same nuance that you're gonna go through security and you're still gonna get the same situation as you normally do. Do you know what I mean? Like, or at other places, do you know what I mean? People stereotype you and think that you're into something that you're really not going to be into. Like, I might just be like, I've definitely had this as well. Like, like you must be into smoking weed or you must be into hip hop. Like, and I'm from the UK. I'm like, well, I grew up on jungle and garage and grime. Like, I genuinely never really listened to hip hop. Nothing wrong with it, but that's just not my thing. Just because I'm black doesn't mean I have to be into hip hop, like in itself. So there's all these like little nuances, and like I said, until I was touring, I'm not gonna pretend like I heard it from anybody else. Like, so I'm experiencing it in real time, kind of being like, I know what my London bubble is like. I know what that's like. I can deal with that. Like, you know what I mean? I know what the situation is. But, you know, you're halfway around the world and you're getting treated like X, Y, Z thing while you're there. And then maybe even the people that you're with don't really understand what the situation is, or think you're overreacting in that scenario. And you are, and then that makes you even more overreact. And why like
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, you don't get this shit. Like, do you know what I mean? This is an additional layer to kind of like touring as a black person, touring as, you know what I mean? It's an additional layer that it definitely, for me, ultimately, this is probably the first time I've spoken about this, but it made it that little bit harder. Like it made it freaking hard. It just made it hard. It just made it hard. Like you walk into a space and you're like, am I even comfortable to be DJing anymore? Like, am I
feeling like you're an interloper in this world that you know you helped create.
Let me just touch on one more point for you guys.
Yeah, just pop you out, pop you back in, see if the delay goes away. Try now.
Yeah.
Oh. Yo. Check. No.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going, T.
Yeah. So another scenario when this has happened multiple times in multiple cities in different countries, where you turn up to DJ as the black guy, and they don't believe you that you're DJ. They don't believe that you're the headliner. Like literally, and it's happened. Like one time, like I turned up. I kid you not, even in London, I turned up with one of my with my friends. Some of my friends, my close friends from London. I'm Grenadian. I'm from my family from the Caribbean. Like reason why I grew up in West London is because there's a lot of Grenadians in West London. There's a ton of us, and most of my friends are from Grenada, have a Grenadian heritage as well. So 5 or 6 of us like turn up in to go to this event now. Yeah, now that's 5 or 6 black guys turn up to go to this event, and the bouncer at the door straight away categorically told me, "You lot aren't getting in. I don't care what you say to me today. You're not getting in." This was actually for an after party of a very big festival as well. At the same time, I played that, and I was like, mind you, I'm headlining as well. Right? I was like, I guarantee you, I'm getting in, my bro. Like this is happening. Like, do you know what I mean? And I guarantee all these people are getting in too. So, dude's like, he's confident. Yeah, he's confident. He's confident now. You're not getting in. Tonight's not your night, guys. Like, this is not for you lot. And this is a casual thing now. It's not for you. I said, all right. I said to him, I'm not even going to bother arguing with you about this scenario now, yeah. But just so you know, let the guy on the door know that the headliner DJ T.Williams is not turning up. Anyways, like kind of thing, like whatever. So, anyways, he clearly doesn't do that. I called a promoter anyways from outside, and I'm just letting you know that I'm going home because me and like all my friends can't get into the event because your bouncer's racist. Simple, like done, like kind of thing. At this point, I was already at a point where it was like, you know, it was like you lot are taking the piss with me now, kind of thing, like, you know. And basically, yeah, that night I didn't play, got the fee, the rest of it, like. Oh,
you never made it in. It never happened.
Nah. I mean, it could have happened. The promoter was like, come back, 100%, you know what I mean, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I was just like,
you didn't want to prove the bouncer wrong. You were just like, it's not even worth it. Fuck this guy.
Nah, I'm good. I was like to the basically. So tell you why. The reason for this is because I spoke to the promoter afterwards, and I was like, what I want you to do, and what I want you guys to do, is check whether you've either A, got a racist bouncer on your freaking front door before I turn up. If that person's racist, they shouldn't be working for you. Full stop. Club, whatever. That person should not be on the door regardless. If they are checking to see if black guys can come into the club, they should not be working. Full stop, regardless.
That's it.
So you figure out what you're doing with your night. You figure out what you're doing outside of this thing, because clearly your racist bouncer said that I couldn't come in. You know what I mean? And next time you book me, make sure that he's not on the door. He's nowhere near the door, and anyone that is on the door is checked, is checked and relevant for what it is. And I felt like that made the most sense, because I got tired of proving bouncers wrong in terms of I'm gonna get in, and then the promoter comes out and is like yeah, he's the DJ, he's the guy, and then the bouncer's like they look a bit embarrassed and they look whatever, but they got their job. They're gonna be back on the door doing the same thing to another black guy next week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So no, it's down to the club and the promoter to kind of like check the bouncers and check them, because that's who they're giving the paycheck to these guys. So, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, they're giving the paycheck to this racist. So that was just another, and this wasn't like a one-off thing. This was like the coining moment where I was just tired and pissed off about it. You know what I mean? I was like with my friends and stuff, and it wasn't like that. But no, we didn't need it. Didn't need it, man. Didn't need it. Didn't need it. And I'm like that as well.
Exhausting.
Yeah, just exhausting. But we could probably talk about this forever. But I'm just like,
I think we need to do we're gonna have to do part 2. I know when we talk on the phone too, we
part 3 as well.
At least 2 hours.
That stuff is so important.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm glad that I'm doing this with you guys, because in reality, I feel like I haven't had the conversation with any other black DJs and to kind of hear their perspective as well and kind of understand. But I know what I've experienced. I mean, we both know, I've toured a fair bit, you know what I mean, and I'm experiencing in that moment, like it made me not want to go, like made me not want, like there was, do you know what? There was times when I was dragging my heels to Ibiza, like I was literally like hoping that the plane would be gone by the time I get to the airport. Do you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't even
me too.
Yeah, exactly the vibe. You're just dragging your heels. But yeah, man, like I'm glad that even for me, like it's good to chat to you guys and good to
Dude, thanks, man. Yeah, no, we really appreciate you opening
anytime,
up.
man. We love you, bro.
You're feeling comfortable.
Yo, can I switch gears real quick? This is so random, but gotta respect the homie Dada Ganesh in the chat who asked so long ago. What do you think about AJ Tracy? They say it's West London's new next big thing, and I know you're like the West London dude. So
yeah, AJ Tracy's man. AJ Tracy's dope, man. He has been dope. Like I actually got the pleasure of working with him early on in his career.
Oh snap!
As well. So
go Dada.
Yeah, he's the AJ Tracy's solid. West London all day, every day. Like yeah.
Yes.
Respect.
All right, well, we'll do this again. We got so many more garage YouTubes to play and just get deep on this stuff. Yeah, big shout out.
Definitely.
Enjoy your Canada time, and talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, I want to hear all about maple syrup next time you come on.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about Canada.
I want to know all the. I know a little Vermont maple syrup, but I want to hear the Canadian real deal.
Hi guys, no worries.
Peace. Love you.
Shoot. Damn. I love that dude, man. He's so dope. I'm so glad he finally got on the show.
It's been great to just, I guess like grow together,
He's a good friend, man.
It's almost solid, 10 years solid. Reconnected. Yeah. So it's like just kind of growing up together in this industry. There's a few folks like that, but he's got such a great perspective on everything. So
absolutely. We didn't talk about new music. I want to hear what he's working on.
Yeah, no, we'll have to have him back. We'll have him back in like a month or two. We say that for guests, but this time we gotta do it because that was cut so short. All right, well, it's we got another big show next week. We got DJ Holographic.
What?
One of Detroit's the up-and-coming DJ from Detroit, making so much noise.
Hot, man. She's
dropping Detroit. She's curating the latest Detroit Love compilation on Planet E, which we actually have a track on, so that's cool. We can talk about that.
Yep.
And we got Leah Mockridge, who's about to drop an album on Soul Club Records. He's going to drop in and do a couple of songs from the album for us as well. So it's going to be dope. And
we first met him. He was in 8th grade.
That's wild, man.
He gets snuck into the club.
Yeah.
In Berlin. Craziness.
Big shout out to everybody in the chat, everybody tuning in. We got who are we gonna raid? Who are we gonna raid?
It's a good question. Chat room, think about it as we do the final vinyl thoughts. How about that?
Sounds good.
So check it out, y'all. A while back on the show, we had DJ Crust. Not so far back, actually, a few months ago. DJ Crust, who had a new album out on Crosstown Rebels. Amazing album. He's an amazing guy. So inspirational. So talented. And he was talking about some of his inspiration coming up. This is pre-Jungle days. And he's from Bristol. And he talked a lot about the trip-hop group Smith and Mighty. Incredibly talented trip-hop group formed in the 80s, releasing in the late 80s, 90s, and onwards. Then they became, well, one of the guys, Rob Smith, became more rockers, the drum bass or jungle act. But yeah, that got me digging through the Discogs, and I ended up buying a bunch of their stuff. And that is what I'm sharing with you today. This is one of the first singles, 1988. And the song is Walk On. 1988. Smith and Mighty. See you next week, y'all.
Peace. Bum, 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 bum. Should I keep talking while you bring it over there?
Yeah, do that, and maybe you can put the track name in the thing there. Smith and Mighty, Walk On.
Walk On. And yeah, see you guys next week for Holographic, and I'll be on the Soul Clap Music channel on Sunday for Unicorn Disco for Tots.
Walk on, walk on, walk on, walk on. 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 Walk.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. Walk on by. If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. Walk on by. Make believe that you don't see the tears. Just let me be in private, 'cause each time I see you I break down and cry. Walk on by. Walk on by. Walk on by. I just can't get over losing you, and so if I seem broken into, walk on by. Walk on by. Foolish pride, that's all that I have left. So let me hide the tears and the sadness you gave me when you said goodbye. Walk on by. Walk on by. Walk on by. Walk on by. I just can't get over losing you, and so if I seem broken into, walk on by. Walk on by. Foolish pride, that's all that I have left. So let me hide the tears and the sadness you gave me when you said goodbye. Walk on by. Walk on by. Walk on by. Walk on by.